Good morning. Today we're visiting the Embassy of Namibia and we're holding an interview with the ambassador.
Welcome to the Embassy of Namibia in Germany. Gold, silver, tungsten, copper, all kinds of minerals that Africa is producing and exporting worldwide. But we are very good. We've got 2,000 kilometer coastline. We are Atlantic. So we are a big fishing nation.
First of all, again, thank you for taking your time. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to start with the first question. So you had a very successful career. You first served, you've served in various critical and catalytic positions. Among many others, you served first as the first permanent Secretary of Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Namibia, then guided the state succession of Namibia from South Africa. Furthermore, Your Excellency was High Commissioner of the Republic of Namibia within the Republic of Zambia, and the CEO of Air Namibia. So from these different influential positions, which one did you find the most challenging?
Certainly the most challenging was maybe the responsibility of being the first permanent secretary of Namibia. Because there were so many expectations. It's a new nation. It was the last African colony, or maybe, with the exception now of Western Sahara. Before that, it was there was great expectations during that time, and to assume responsibilities as a permanent secretary of foreign affairs at the age of 34 years. I was that young.
Very young, yeah.
That young at that time. So that was quite a big responsibility, and I'm grateful to our president, the government, to think that I'm capable of meeting that challenge at that early age. But in general, all responsibilities that I had in my very short career had all their own challenges, respective of that's what the airline. It's a very competitive international business. To assume responsibility for the fortunes of our national airline was equally interesting, challenging. But in life, you never know. Steve Jobs said it so appropriately in a commencement address to Stanford University that in life you can only link the dots backwards. You never know where life is taking you, but you understand that it had a purpose. There is a purpose for our lives, and if you seize the opportunity that is presented to you, you only understand afterwards why you were at a particular position. But very interesting challenges that all contributed to me growing, but adding value, contributing to my country.
So this all led you to your current position. So you've been here since January this year. How have you enjoyed the position so far, and what are the main challenges you confronted with so far here in Berlin?
Yeah, in a certain way, it was coming back to your roots, because I've been to Berlin before in my previous function as a permanent secretary of foreign affairs. There were very important African-related issues that took place in Berlin. I remember the first meeting of foreign ministers ministers from the SADC region together with the European Union that I was heavily involved in, because at that time I was also the chairperson of the SADC Senior Officials Forum that was setting up the dialogue with their counterparts in Europe regularly on an officials level. But that was the first time that we upgraded the dialogue between SADC and the European Union to a ministerial level. So it's an important. So it's in a way it's coming back to your roots. I have family ties to Germany. My grandfather on my mother's side was German. So and coming from this Berlin area, although I never personally knew my grandfather because he passed on before I was born.
Yeah.
But it was, in a way, it's also back to your roots,
Yeah.
to settle, the Africa, European roots. So it was a very interesting assignment to assume.
Nice. So, for what reason did you decide to become a diplomat then?
One never chooses, what you would, as I said, Steve Jobs, born from Lebanese parents,
Yeah.
Adopted by an American family, was not very successful academically, but who built up the biggest, business empire in the world in Apple computer and all of those kind of things. One never knows in advance why you become this, why you make that career choice, but if you remain open, and seize the opportunities that life presents to you, you end up, and only afterwards you understand why you made these particular career choices. I love, in general, people. I love making friendships. I like, building relations.
Yeah.
Whether as a student from that time, I was active in student politics when I grew up, and after that, during the liberation struggle, you go out to talk about your challenges and share those experiences of others too. So that's sort of, it led in a certain way to that direction, because that's most probably the reason why after independence the president decided to call on me to organize, structure, and our diplomacy. I was very fortunate in my student days that I was, I met at a meeting in Germany here when I was learning my German language. At conferences, I was spokesperson, speaking on behalf of the Namibian people in their causes, also during my student life. I went to study in Geneva. I met president of the Red Cross, the Swiss Red Cross, which is talking about soft diplomacy, very involved in that particular direction. So I worked at an institute during my student years called the Center for Applied Studies in International Negotiations. So you get in touch with, global and international diplomatic or actors.
Yeah.
So that sort of naturally led to the vocation of diplomacy. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So we move on to the relations between Namibia and Germany. So far, Germany and Namibia have a very vibrant economic relationship. And how have the diplomatic relations between the two countries evolved in the past years?
Germany had 4 colonies in Africa. Namibia, Tanzania, Cameroon, and Togo. But from those 4 colonies, there was only one settler colony, and that was Namibia, Deutsch Südwestafrika, the Siedlungs. So it was during the time that people were exploring the concept of Lebensraum, Spain, Portugal, everybody else that were colonial powers. They were exploring how they would expand living space for Europeans around the world. For Germany, amongst its 4 colonies, Namibia was the only one that was a Siedlungs, or a settler colony, and that's where they went. And most probably the reason why so much cruelty, African anti-colonial movements were suppressed. We are talking today about the genocide, but that is the origin, because it was a settler colony, no opposition to quote-unquote Kaiser. Kaiser laws were to be supported or tolerated. And the result of that is today, I think Namibia is the country with the largest settlers, German settlers in Africa. There are 30,000. We call them Namibians of German origin that live in our country. After independence in 1990, our leaders, in their infinite wisdom, decided we are not going to build our new country, new nation, on the basis of revenge, but we are going to build it on the basis of reconciliation. And they accepted to recognize land that was stolen but the third generation, fourth generation German settlers are living on, to recognize and give them legal title.
Yeah.
Legal title, and that was out of conviction of reconciliation. So Namibia has very strong historical ties with Germany. There are two Bundestag resolutions that refer, most probably it's the only country that is the subject of two Bundestag resolutions that emphasize the special relationship between the two countries for moral and historical reasons. That's how the Bundestag resolution reads. Moral, most probably because of the genocide that they committed 110 years ago,
Yeah.
but that has not yet been recognized, or at least formally not yet been recognized. So there's a euphemism for moral reasons is because of that genocide, but historical because of what has happened. Namibia today receives almost 80,000 German tourists per year, which is quite a significant flow of people. One German diplomat told me that there are more friends of Namibia in Germany than people that live in our country, because we have a small population. It's only 2.5 million.
Oh, yeah.
2.5 million, and we are 1.5 the size of Germany. So it's a huge country, but we have a very small population. So it holds true for Germany as it does for the rest of the world. We have, during our 75-year struggle for independence, benefited from the support from people all over the world, particularly from Africa, who welcomed Namibians as refugees, gave them opportunities to learn in their schools. That's why after independence, when we returned, we had brought back experiences, education that we developed all around the world, and we were able to run and establish a country maybe which is a good reference for everybody in terms of democracy, in terms of tolerance, in terms of freedom of the press, in terms of, generally a good intent to live together and do together. Now with Africans and former colonizers, Europeans, we have 13 tribes, people of German origin, people of African origin, people of Dutch, South African origin as well, but living peacefully, harmoniously. Let everyone do his own thing, as long as we all advance together.
It's very nicely said.
Yeah.
So speaking of the close relationship between the countries, would you say that, for example, renewable energy sources and the energy industry in general is a rising opportunity for further collaboration between the two countries?
Yeah, we missed the energy shift towards new renewable energy. We had too much focus on fossil fuels, carbon, charcoal-driven power plants, like the rest of the world. So. But there is a new trend towards that new. Namibia as a country is the country which has got the longest exposure to some sunlight in the world. So ideally, it's free. It's a God-given, and ideally we should benefit a lot more by exploiting that. And there are new initiatives now starting to put up solar plants, put wind energy, and hopefully in a partnership with Germany. We should be able to develop that industry. We're in the process of talking with the state of Brandenburg, which is immediately around Berlin, but which is most probably the most advanced in terms of developing wind energy. So we talks about developing joint projects to promote that. We're talking about two other federal states about solar energy. Our University of Science and Technology, Namibia University of Science and Technology, has currently got a very interesting project that they are developing with students in terms of developing a solar-powered vehicle and a car. It's fairly advanced in cooperation with major vehicle manufacturers worldwide, because we feel with so much exposed sun exposure, the longest daylight exposure,
Yeah.
there's a good opportunity to develop an industry, just like little Switzerland is doing with solar impulse. In terms of a solar powered plane, maybe we could derive the next innovation and in that particular area. Yeah.
Okay, so as you mentioned it, what exactly is your area you would particularly focus on in your time of office? Is it the industry you just mentioned, or what is your focus during your term?
I hope during my time, which is very short, 4 years for an ambassador over there, to establish and develop relations. Governments write contracts, but people implement relations. I think the strongest relations that exist between countries are relations that are driven by the civil society. When people meet, young people, school, universities, civil societies, churches, cultural associations, when they participate and implement what on the high level governments are deciding, those are the strongest relations between countries. I believe the best examples of partnership between Namibia are not started by governments, but are started by ordinary tourists who travel down there and fall in love with a conservation initiative. They go and they see what they like, what people do with animals, what they do with people, kindergarten, and I call it love stories. Love stories, beautiful. Some of them, I was just recently in Hamburg by a retired German businessman, went and started a school for orphan children. And that was 10 years ago. We were celebrating the 10th anniversary. And in a very remote rural area in Namibia. But that little feeding system that they had for orphan children that were taken in, they were using Namibian old ladies as surrogate mothers that would look after those particular children, make sure that they have a decent meal every day, That little initiative, after 10 years, has evolved into 8 towns or cities where they are feeding 1,400 children daily.
Oh, that's amazing.
And what started off sort of like a kindergarten is now almost up to grade 8. 8th school year, very successful, self-sustaining, because it started as a school and they built guest lodges for people who want to come and visit and see where their money is going. So the income from that, looking after the tourists, is self-sustainably financing these. So it's beautiful initiatives, beautiful love stories that started off with one person, but in the meantime involves, in Hamburg it was at this time, but it was rewarded by Angela Merkel as a Citizens Medal Award that this business person received. But those are the kind of things that I would like to develop, but with all 16 federal states of Germany. Yeah. That people participate in those initiatives in partnerships with regions, with cities, with cultural sports clubs, whatever that is. That would be a good legacy to hand over when I leave behind, that people have taken up things and they run with it on their own without the ambassador being present, because it's best thing is to build relationships between people.
Okay, so as you mentioned, you focus on these relationships. There's a new youth initiative launched by the Bundestag, which aims to focus on
last week in Bonn.
Yeah, exactly. Would you wish Namibia to be part of it? Or the German youth and the Namibian youth can exchange, and Germans are encouraged to go to Namibia and vice versa.
Yeah, no, all initiatives are welcome, and I really appreciate particularly everything that has to do with young people, because young people are the future. Young people have no hang-ups about the past. They are more future-oriented, no matter what happened. A very beautiful example is France-German relations. These people were killing each other. For centuries they were fighting and killing each other. But over the last 75 years, because of youth initiatives, partnerships, twinning, exchanges, the relationship between Germany and France, for that matter, is exemplary. you can celebrate, or have remembrance ceremonies about how many people were killed, like the recent event in Verdun in France, where within a space of 9 months, maybe more than 300,000 people were killed for senseless war that didn't even advance maybe 1 kilometer around that. But that's the senselessness or the folly of people at certain ages. Young people, as I say, in hearts, there are no kilometers, there are no divisions. And that's the beauty of it. I think if we use youth exchanges to build strong future relations, that removes prejudices that people develop or acquire. Nelson Mandela had something very beautiful that he said. He said, children, when they're born, they don't know apartheid. Apartheid and colonialism and all those prejudices are acquired behaviors that other people import or impose during your socialization, your education. But young people don't have those prejudices. And we can all learn by giving them the opportunity to develop the love, the friendships, the genuine, sincere exchanges that they with others. And it's a really good initiative that we all in all countries should make opportunities for young people to meet. And it's just, we will have a much more peaceful world if we do that.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, Your Excellency have referred to peaceful coexistence and to soft diplomacy previously.
Yeah.
How would you define cultural diplomacy, and which role does it play in modern international relations?
I would say cultural diplomacy is when you put in the foreground exchange of ideas around things that people naturally love. Sports, who doesn't want to play? Not only competitively, but just as a social binding mechanism to have fun. That's the best way for kids to learn. Culture, in terms of music, who doesn't love music? Those are things, and you can engage discussions between people, between nations, around things that they all love, rather than the high diplomacy issues where you deal with conflicts and but tolerance is developed much more effectively through that. So putting in the foreground issues that people naturally love, exchange of ideas, exchange of relations on those level, and set aside issues around which people feel strongly and they would disagree, my religion, my whatever is, and then you develop a culture of tolerance. I say, okay, after all, my friend, he comes from a distant country, he loves the same thing. We play soccer, we play tennis, we can play basketball, we could have fun around that, and you discover the real person behind it rather than looking at etiquettes. And it's not only today, but it is historically. If you take it back, the history of Olympics, it started out in Greece, cities and communities making space on a day to get together around things they love, sports. Watch people, some people are more advanced because they devote a lot more time to practicing and perfecting their skills in that area, but any other reason is a good excuse to socialize, to have more relaxed sort of interactions with people. It is still important. It has always been important. That's the Olympic movement. It's very important. I just had last week Paralympic event here in which we hosted the Namibian Paralympics team. They did exceptionally well. They got 9 gold medals. We're a small population, but we have people who have a heart, very strong heart.
What an achievement.
Yeah, 9 gold medals, 3 silver and 4 bronze, total tally of 16 medals that they took back. We're very young nations, but I think we maintain ourselves, and it's a good opportunity to exchange. They were crowd favorites of a 54-nation event that took place because the desire, the will to do good that they displayed at that. And these are as much important ambassadors for Namibia than me. Because on a Saturday they just needed 2-day event to conquer the hearts of all the spectators, that were following that event. They're much more potent than I could ever be as an ambassador. So
that's the charm of Namibia.
That's it. And there are so many cultural ambassadors, particularly. We had in all fields, musicians, poets. I went to Baden-Württemberg 2 months ago to open an exhibition in the museum in Baden-Württemberg about artwork by young Namibians, maybe 24, average 26, but small from 16 onwards, that are now slowly invading the art scene with paintings, sculptures, whatever expressions of art that you can find. A very successful exhibition that hopefully we will bring to Berlin in October over there. But those are the people that communicate the vision, the outlook. They address all societal themes about violence, about crime, about equality. They bring it in their own form as an object of instigating a discussion about that. But it's a very powerful cultural diplomacy. Today is most probably the most important and the most potent form than the formal diplomacy that we are practicing. Yeah.
So with regard to cultural diplomacy as a tool to achieve conflict resolution and peace, could you provide us an example of a time during which Your Excellency were involved in a successful cultural dialogue?
I've been all along involved in. I love music festivals. I myself played trumpet. I was fortunate. My father was an all-round musician, choir leader, played many instruments, piano, played the violin, played trumpets, and so on. And he taught me at the age of 6 to play the trumpet as an instrument that I practiced for a long time. When I grew up, we used to have a national trumpet orchestra visit Germany for tours and concerts around Germany, performing in different cities and states together with others. So I grew up in sort of a cultural environment that promotes that kind of exchange. And there is quite a lot of activity that takes place in that field presently. Just simple choirs, music or orchestras that travel to Namibia and go and perform free cultural performances around Namibia, and then often they leave the instruments behind for the children in Namibia to learn an instrument and to practice that. I feel is a very potent, when you can get a young person and introduce him to an instrument, a guitar, a trumpet, a violin. And in the townships all across Namibia, there are many young people, because you should have a passion in life. Mm-hmm. You should have a passion in life other than, the normal career things that you need to do, learn about maths, reading, whatever. But music has that capacity. If you have a passion about it, you communicate, it gives confidence. There are other people who appreciate what you do. That develops a bit of self-confidence so that you can go into the world and do many other things and so on. So we want to build on that. Next year is if you may know, here in Germany, next year is the Reformation, Martin Luther Jubilee, 500 years Jubilee. And there are many intercultural, interfaith events that are taking place to celebrate this event, 500-year Jubilee. There will be concerts, but there are 3 main events that celebrate that cultural event next year. And these 3 cities where that is going to take place is Berlin, Wittenberg, and Windhoek. That's where the climax of the celebration will take place in Namibia, when the Lutheran World Federation will have its annual conference. It starts this year in October in Lund in Sweden, mm-hmm. where the Pope and interconfessional leaders will be gathering to launch the celebratory events because it should contribute to tolerance, greater interfaith unity. At the present moment, people use religion as a divisive, to say my God is better than your God, although we talk about the same. My belief, my confession is better than yours, although it's the same. Prejudices about but there should be an opportunity next year to reduce, and to strengthen,
similarity.
Strengthen unity, tolerance. Religion, first of all, is a private matter. It's a private matter between you and your God. It's not a public matter, but that message is the same, whatever the religions are. It's about peace. Religion is a vehicle, it's a message of peace with yourself, with your environment, and with the rest of the world. And hopefully this event next year will contribute to greater understanding. We are planning to organize events in Namibia around that, to bring young people together through music, choirs, that are going to take place to spread that message of unity. I think we are credible. Namibia is a credible country to be a messenger for that message, because we were divided. We fought for 75 years. We had all the issues of division, prejudices, racial prejudices vis-a-vis others. But we live as one people today, of 13 tribes, Europeans and Africans together, where everybody has his space and tolerance. Namibia is the only country in which gays and lesbians are not targeted, but everybody are tolerated and accepted for what they are, live and let live, whether with nature and everywhere else. And we think we're a credible messenger in terms of sharing that message with youth all around the world and people all around the world.
Regarding another topic strongly related to Africa continent and to cultural diplomacy, during its 27th summit in Addis Ababa, the African Union launched the African e-passport with the vision to extend it to all African citizens. How does Your Excellency see this evolution?
It is a very important evolution, and it is in keeping with the message of the founding fathers of Africa, African unit. Kwame Nkrumah, all of those, leaders that gained early independence and that created, whether it's from Morocco to Egypt, down to Cape Town, to Ghana, West Africa, East Africa. It was their wish and their desire that Africa can only be as strong as it is united. There are 3 countries in Africa at the present moment that have no visa exemptions for Africans, all Africans, irrespective of where you come from, and that is Ghana, Namibia, and Rwanda. So if you're an African, you don't need to apply for a visa to travel to these 3 countries. You can take up your plane ticket, buy your plane ticket and land in Windhoek, and they will issue you a visa for all Africans, irrespective of which country, no discrimination. And it's a good thing, that we should give opportunities to young people in Africa that we are rejected in Europe, we are rejected everywhere else. We need to apply for visas. If you come, you're an illegal. But we should feel welcome on this continent wherever we want to pursue our dreams, our wishes, and maybe there's a good opportunity in Namibia, maybe there's a better opportunity in Ghana, there's maybe a better opportunity in Tanzania. Why should we always just be looking towards Europe as a place to go and realize our wishes? It is important to go to Europe, but to go as equals, self-respecting, where you are welcomed. Nobody wants to go where you are stigmatized, you're given a label, you're not welcome, etc. And just like as much as we welcome Europeans in Africa, naturally, if we build good relations, Europeans should welcome Africans when they come over there, but as equals, to attend studies, to attend cultural events where we share our values. We have good values to share, with good stories to tell about ourselves, that we share that on as equals. But Africans should practice what they say, what they preach. And an e-passport is a good idea, but before we do that, we should first of all remove entry requirements for Africans in Africa. Africans in Africa, and that's the initiative that some of us have undertaken, remove visa requirements so that people can travel on the African country without any difficulties. E-passport afterwards, I think, what is it? Is an external, just like the European passport, as an identification. I am from Africa. I don't need to hide my African background. I am a European. I don't need to hide my European background. So maybe as a next step is an identification. But at the present moment, if we don't have visa restrictions for Egyptians, for Libyans, for Moroccans, we will make this continent our own. We'll be proud that we are coming from that continent that has good things to share, good values to share, and that should be the spirit in which we see the e-passport and all other developments that afterwards come.
Yeah. What advice would Your Excellency give to young people interested in pursuing a career in international relations or in diplomacy?
I have a saying, that leadership is not restricted to people that lead a country. Leadership is practiced on all levels, and a student can be a leader as a student. The only thing that comes with leadership responsibility is that you should be yourself, the change that you want to see. There are many things wrong that could be improved on, that could be better, and it's on all levels. And if you can be the example of the change that you want to see at home, in terms of your relations with your brothers and sisters, with your family, with your parents, it's good to criticize, but it's better to do, and to improve. And it's not easy, it's challenging, but once you practice that at home, you take it to your school, you take it out into your community and your city. And once you do that, then the world is an oyster. You do what you love, and then with it comes responsibility. People are very discerning. They notice who does something good, whether it's your peers, as students. If you are pleasant to hang around with, more people will join you, they will hang around with you because you're always constructive. You don't just see the negative side of things, but how you could contribute to improve so that there are more positives than there are negatives in life. And if you do that, I think the world diplomacy is an opportunity to do on behalf of your country certain things what you anyway do as a member of a family, as you do as a citizen in a city, in a village. And that's the only thing that it is. Don't be frightened by the word diplomacy or international relations, but it's just ordinary things that people do and that become a habit, to try to build good relations. Anybody you meet is an opportunity to make friendship. So leave just a positive impression behind. And if you do that, the more positive it has a snowball effect, and the more friends you will make. And maybe tomorrow we will look at you as the future ambassador, next ambassador, or the next leader. Yeah.
Would Your Excellency would like to add something regarding any topic?
Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah. No, you are doing a wonderful job. You are doing a wonderful job in bringing people together, providing an opportunity to share their stories. And there's nothing more passionate or more rewarding than sharing good stories. The world is full of bad and negative stories every day. Sometimes I'm scared to switch on the TV because it's focusing always, journalists operate according to the notion that man bites dog makes a better headline than a dog. Nobody will be interested to read about a dog that is normal. So what goes out to write about blood, about nastiness. But we need to change. There are enough positive things that are happening, good stories that are happening to make content. And you guys are engaged in terms of the power of people. In Turkey, you had the example the other day. I think instead of celebrating, we wrote about the coup, but ordinary people stopped. And they stood up for democracy. They stood up for what is right. And that is where the power and the strength of soft diplomacy, people's diplomacy, citizens' diplomacy is like. We rise and stand up together for negative things, whether it is the ISIS or whatever. There was a beautiful example in the UK where they said, where young people were saying, "Not in my name. I'm also Islam." But not in my name. That is not my notion of what my religion should be. There are better examples of that where bridges are built, friendships are made, etc. So French people should not hijack the mainstream. And I think you play through your own organization, your own institution, a good role in sharing good, positive examples of people's diplomacy. So I congratulate you.
Thank you for the good feedback.
Very much.
Welcome.
It was a joy to speak and have an interview with Your Excellency.
Yeah. No, well, the pleasure was mine. The pleasure was mine.
Also, me as a young student, I've learned a lot from your words, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
And keep up your good work.
Thank you.
And, thank you for this very good interview.
No, thank you. Whatever you make out of it, we are there.